What's up, guys? It's Jordan Anderson. We're back with another Real and Raw podcast with Agent Zero. Today we have a special guest, Miss Deborah Sawaf. We are talking about a great topic in today's world, mental health. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
That's good.
Better after seeing you, like they say.
Oh yeah, thank you. We'll tell people, where you're from. What do you do with mental health? How do you start it? How did it, flourish to what it is today?
Well, to make a long story short, I've been in fashion for 26 years, and over 26 years, and I was asked to be the fashion event during the NBA All-Star weekend and the Super Bowl weekend and give back to mental health. And I realized fashion needed more than a one-time give back. So I decided to create a movement through fashion. Fashion is one of the most powerful vehicles. Everybody relates to fashion. You love fashion. Definitely. The kid in the street loves fashion. CEOs love fashion. So I created a movement. It's a brand, but also a movement for mental well-being through fashion. It's called The Power of Words.
Got you. Well, what would you say your definition of mental health is if you're in your own words?
Managing your emotions on a day-to-day basis, expressing your emotions and being attuned to the emotions of others, I think is what mental health is about. Mental health is not really about the individual, it's about a community. And you can only manage your mental health if you have the support of the community.
Right, got you. So what would you say your best ways of managing mental health is from a personal standpoint and then from a community standpoint, as you said, because you say it's within the community?
You know, my entire life has been impacted by mental well-being of a family member. And I think that taught me the importance of being able to manage it. And how do you reach out, speak out, express yourself, but also when people pay attention to you and care about your emotions is when you're able to share. For example, I have what I call my 7 o'clock morning call. It's my coffee call. That is my therapy. So you've got to have someone to speak out to and be open about it.
Gotcha.
Which is how I've pretty much managed my mental health. To talk about what I've done and, my life has inspired me to create this program, and fashion gave me the opportunity. I believe, think about when you wake up in the morning and you look at your phone, if there was someone monitoring your emotions and it was going up and down like that on a screen, what's your typical day? Do you look at your phone first thing in the morning?
Yeah, I got to get that alarm. So yeah, definitely look at the phone first thing in the morning. But...
Okay, so you're jumping up and down there, first of all. What's the first thing you look at?
So I look at that, I have my alarm, and then I also have a reminder set for every morning. It's a Bible app. I have the Bible app on my phone, and I also have the Daily Bread app, which is another kind of, Bible app where they just have scriptures and motivational things. So really that pops up on my phone. I just read scriptures every morning before I get to going through my day, getting ready.
That's amazing. And then you go through your calendar, maybe what you have set for the day, the classes you have, the practice you have, and is it going up and down like that? Maybe you scroll through your emails and your Instagram. So the human mind goes through 2,400 emotions a day. Before I get to my desk, I probably go through 300 emotions, thinking about, does my youngest, Philippe, have his breakfast? Oh, am I late for him? Is he going to miss the bus? There's all of these things. Every one of these things takes you off your focus. So
I didn't know it was that many emotions. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off, but that's crazy.
No, that's good. It gives us, point of conversation here. But so what we created is a way to be able to focus and stay connected to what you intend to do for the day. So we created something called the Power of 7. We took the 7 emotions that you hold in your body and tied it to the 7 chakras. So we have 7 colors and 7 words that represent the emotions that our body holds. Gotcha. And that is why we called it the Power of 7. 7 is a magical number. It's a number that's universal, appears in every religion, every culture. And I believe we should live one day at a time. Pick your emotion for the day. And whether it's the emotion or several emotions, pick the one of the 7 emotions and focus on that. And what am I? Do I have my emotions today? Yes. So, you know, what do I want to do? I want to be able to speak out, and I want to remember to be compassionate. The way each of us express these emotions is different. So why I might be a warrior and why you might be a warrior might be completely different.
Different type of warriors.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
different and warriors for different reasons. So what this does is it helps you come back to what your intention for the day is. And we get distracted. I mean, we get distracted by things that are going on in the world. We get distracted by things that are happening on Instagram. We get distracted by all of the different apps that we have going for us, conversations that are happening. So we forget about what we set out to do. So I like to say, focus on what you want to do today. It's one day at a time. And it may be 2 or 3 of the 7 emotions, but pick one.
I definitely agree with that, with trying to take things one day at a time. I feel like it's kind of hard though at the same time, only because like for something that happened like yesterday or today can like affect the future, if that makes sense. So like that brings out a lot of emotions. So, you know, just with for instance, for a game, for instance, you know, practicing throughout the week, you know, you have good practice and bad practices, but you're preparing for Saturday. So I feel like, you know, if I have a bad practice on Tuesday or Wednesday, then I feel like that affects me that next day, because like I'm thinking ahead, kind of like, okay, like if I had a bad practice this week, then it's more than likely the game is going to be bad for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that way, but I know people sometimes tend to think that way. For sure, but I definitely think it's that's a good way to go about it. I try to go by, you know, taking one day at a time and one step at a time, and taking things slow. But I definitely agree with you with taking things one day at a time.
So you said if you had a bad game, it's going to be stuck in your mind, or bad practice, it's stuck in your mind that you had a bad practice, and that's a constant reminder. So we want to get you out of that.
Yeah.
So I would say, I would wear, in that case, if it was me, I'd say I had a really bad game. I'm going to be optimistic because I know that I want to play a good game, and I'm going to go that direction. I would also, in addition to that, wear resilient. So I'm not going to let this bad thought come in the way of my performance, and I'm going to be resilient. I would wear warrior to work on what I want to do. One of the words we have, one of the 7 words, is magic. And
I was just going to ask, I was like, what are the 7 words? You just go into that.
Well, yeah. So we have, we start with magic. I believe if you believe your magic, the energy, if you believe your magic, you're the one unique person on this planet. Like in fashion, we'd say you're haute couture because it's only one piece, right? It's the one special piece. And we are the one individual being, and God created us unique, but we don't appreciate that enough, and we don't remember that. I think I love to wear magic every day because I want to remember I'm magic. And I always say when I speak in a class, I say, when you walk out of the class and you go into the elevator, just believe you're magic. Yeah. And that puts out a magnetic energy. That energy that you put out, people feel it. And when you try it in a confined space, you will notice you should get a reaction from someone. And I always say, if you don't get a reaction once, try it again and again until you do get it, because then you practice being magic, and that leads to a lot of different things that are
contagious,
and it's positivity.
Yeah, I think the power is in believing, for sure. I'm gonna definitely. My coach actually used to say, like, the power is in believing in faith. You know, I feel like if a whole organization or a team have belief in the same goal and the same aspects and aspirations, and I think it's always going to be successful and contagious.
Absolutely.
So you said the first.
So we have magic. We have magic, we have empathy, compassion, optimism, resilience. Mm-hmm. What did I miss? Speak out, reach out, and speak out, which is one of the most important words.
So you said magic,
compassion, empathy, resilience, speak out, warrior.
Warrior. Yeah,
my most important one.
So what's your
Okay.
Empathy, that I would think that's more so on the side of emotions, correct? Maybe?
Yes, I believe empathy is feeling with the heart of another. We can be compassionate, and someone's crossing the street, we go out of our way to help them cross. If it's an elderly person, you help someone open the door, pick up their groceries if they fall down. Those are things that are compassion. Empathy is when you're telling me a story to really feel like I'm in your shoes rather than just acknowledge what you're going through and go on and talk about what I'm going through, but really focus on you and spend time and try to understand what you're going through so that I can really communicate and be authentic with my communication. And I'm not able to help you if I am not empathetic enough.
Gotcha. Well, switching to that, empathy, like I said, I think it goes into emotion, but then like I see you have resilient as one of those.
Yes.
I feel like I'm very resilient, but also like I have empathy, but I don't show it as much, if that makes sense. Like
Yes,
I'm like in a nonchalant type of way.
yeah.
And not to say that I don't feel or like don't care, but I feel like me using I use all my energy towards something if I feel like I don't want to use all my energy towards something, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I'm just,
But I still
I
care.
think when you're talking about yourself and your day-to-day life and you're going into something and you have to make a decision or you have to, say another player. You might not understand what one of your teammates is going through. You just don't agree with him on things. And when you're in the same space as him, if you remind yourself to be empathetic, try and understand, because sometimes we're so rushed in life, we don't stop to understand why someone's done something and why someone's made a decision or why someone might have had a bad game when they should not have. They've practiced, they did really well, but sometimes things can happen in life before you leave for your game that might switch your mental state of mind and impact your performance perhaps, but nobody knows that. But you expressing yourself, saying you're struggling with something, because sometimes we don't see the struggles of others.
Definitely.
And I think that's the issue. I also have, when you talk about little leagues, when you talk about young kids playing high school basketball or football or whatever, and people sit in the audience and throw comments at them, and they don't understand what the child is going through. So you're putting out this negative energy that doesn't give, and especially young people that are so fragile, you don't give them the opportunity to be themselves, to pick up and go, because they're so afraid of the backlash they're going to get from not performing. And I think that's a big part of mental health, is what we as fans and audience put out. We don't understand the person, we understand the player. And our expectations are very high, but then we're not out there on the field playing the game.
Most definitely, and I can agree with that because I've went through that, and I've seen people go through that, like all the way up from little league to college now.
Yeah.
Like, in little league, they don't, in my opinion, they don't let the kids be kids
Yeah.
long enough, if that makes sense. Like, cool, like I understand like football is a competitive sport, and I'm the biggest competitor, like it is, like I hate to lose. But at the same time, I feel like they put the game more than the kids' well-being
Yes.
at times, and that is bad. And I feel like kids don't get to be those self, like, cause take it from me, like I haven't had a real summer since I was like 5 years old. Like all my summers been sacrificed for football.
Of course.
Like I've always been playing football for the summer, spring, and fall, so forth and so on. So it's never had like a real time to like just relax or just like dwell or like debrief on like what all like you went through. But even in that, even going up to high school, like it's even worse because like now you have,
Higher
fans,
expectations.
higher expectations, and then you have fans, betting on the game. It's like it's a lot of pressure for sure. And then honestly, in college, I feel like college is the most you feel the pressure, just like everybody in mental health, because you have to get up early in the morning. You got to deal with school. You got to deal with workouts, football, coaches. And then, like, say if it was in my shoes, like I'm 5 hours from a plane ride home, 1,000 miles. So you can't really, it's a lot to focus on football, school, and then like your family back home. So I feel like it's definitely a lot that people don't understand, like the backlash of it anyway. And
Absolutely.
then because at that time in the same aspect, even if you're going through all of that, it doesn't matter honestly because at the end of the day you still got to go out there and play.
Perform,
And
yes.
that's what people understand, but they don't understand that. And in some ways they just think, oh, they just, they're football players,
Yeah.
like they don't do anything. But practice all day when in reality it's a lot more stuff that we go through for sure.
Yeah, you lead the life of an entrepreneur, and there are ups and downs, and yes, nobody understands Jordan Anderson, the person. They look at Jordan Anderson, the player, and which is why I say, if you have your team and people understand the emotion you're trying to put out, this is you wearing your emotion for your own strength and your own focus. But me looking at you wearing resilient, I understand that you're fighting something, you're trying to get somewhere, you're trying to be strong. You get the support of your community. But if people don't understand what you're going through because you're not expressing it, you're not telling us, you're not talking to your audience every day, and which is why I started the program. It's called Band Bond Therapy. They're bands that bond you as a team. Your teammates need to understand. You need to understand what each other is going through without having to ask you, which is how these work. So and then eventually your fans will get to understand what you're going through as well. You're there to play your game. You wear warrior because you're going to win this game. You're going out there warrior mode, but you also sometimes need empathy, sometimes need compassion, and ask for it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. And it's just like I feel like social media plays a big part in, feeling some type of way, not wanting to speak out enough too, because as bad people do have their own opinion, but I feel like some people just like throw their opinions out at the wrong time too, because like you never know what somebody can go through. But then you're just sitting at home and you just see something you see on TV or like on Instagram, so you just throw your 2 cents in, but you don't know
Yeah.
like what's going on. And then they throw an opinion in, it probably really hurts that person, but they don't know
Yeah.
that though, and they don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Which me, like I have tough skin.
That's empathy.
I have tough skin, so like I can deal with it. But like I know some people that can't deal with it, or you have tough skin, but then you see something, you like, dang, that's how they really feel. It's just like it's crazy, but
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. And then just being resilient. I feel like people be too resilient to speak out in today's society, though, because like you said, isn't speak out one of the
Speak out is
words?
one of the words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel
Reach
like
out and speak out.
I feel like just with men in society, period, like they don't want to speak out on their feelings or their
Yeah.
mental health because it's deemed soft or not being manly enough or being too
Exactly.
feminine and not masculine enough, and which I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I don't want to say I don't disagree with it, but I agree I don't agree with it though, if that makes sense. Like
I always say sharing your vulnerabilities
yeah,
is one of the greatest leadership skills you will have.
right,
So being able to talk about your weaknesses is actually a strength.
yeah,
And we always say that the best leaders are able to talk about their vulnerabilities. That's how you bond with the people around you. You're above them, and you're the best player on the team, and they look up to you. But they need to know that you're also humble and kind,
yeah.
and you have feelings and emotions. That's the way you communicate. That's the way you build a bond with people. When you don't share your emotions, you kind of stay aloof, I think.
I guess you could. I guess you can say that for sure. Do you believe crying is good or bad?
It's
And
great.
it's great.
Everyone needs to have a good cry.
See, I don't cry.
Yeah.
I don't cry. And
Well,
people think I'd be lying, but I really don't cry though. And I don't know. I don't know. It's not like I was brought up to not cry or anything that much. Like my mom always said, if you want to cry, you can cry, but I don't cry though, for sure.
Yeah, well, you've kind of found your strength, and you feel like you can be strong and handle things, but there will be moments
Yeah,
in
definitely,
life.
for sure. Like I don't. It's definitely gonna be moments in life, but like I don't think it's ever been something where like I was so frustrated. Well, it's been times like in the games like I'll like drop a tear, but it's like out of frustration though. like that we lost and like was supposed to win or like it was a close game. But like out of just like mental health wise or something, I don't think I could cry if that makes sense. But I don't know if that I feel like that's a bad thing, but it's not. People always tell me like that's a bad thing. But I don't think it is. I just feel
No, it
like
isn't.
I feel like I
You've
built
never
up
been in a position
yeah, I
to.
feel like I built up a tolerance like good enough where I can handle stuff
Yeah,
other than crying,
yeah.
if that makes sense. But everybody else say like, yeah, you need to cry. Like, especially it's more of a female aspect though in my mind, which is not. I feel like females and male can cry, but I feel like more females cry in that aspect, if that makes sense.
I think we're built differently to start with, and you will cry when you feel the pain strong enough, and
Right.
maybe you haven't been in that situation
Yeah.
yet.
Not with mental health,
Not
per
with
se,
mental health.
but like if,
I don't think many people cry with mental health issues. You cry when you're broken about something, and there are so many aspects. Mental health. There are things that we are not talking about that lie under the surface that are actually making us cry.
that builds up.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think the you said optimism was the other one.
Yes.
Can you explain?
Let's go back to resilient. You referred to resilient as, being resilient and being strong and going back to doing what you want to do on a daily basis and work really hard. But there are people that will wear resilient because they're trying to remind themselves to eat healthy. And every time you reach out to grab something that isn't healthy, that's just your reminder. You're resilient about keeping with healthy food or staying healthy or making the right healthy choices. That's just to give you,
Oh yeah, I
because
got you.
you
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah, my point.
Yeah.
I think I had like a different seeing of resilient. Like I
Yeah.
think like a resilient is more so of a like a
Yes.
strong or like kind of like a
Yes.
rebel or like an alpha male
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
meaning. So I
The
get what you're
great
saying.
thing about the bands is being able to express them in different ways.
Got you.
Being able to express them the way you express a word, and that's the beauty of it. Is the same word doesn't mean the same thing. When you talk about optimism, I want to go into my day. If I have a meeting and I feel like I'm not going to. I'm not really ready for this, or I'm not ready to go the way someone wants me to go with the program. I want to go into the meeting feeling optimistic that, okay, this might not work with you now, but maybe you'll realize later on that you do need it. But I need to not be upset about that and go into it being optimistic that this is not meant to happen for me right now. And maybe something else will come from it. So that's another way to look at optimism, is looking at the positive in negative.
So it's more of a like a positive mindset going into
Yeah.
things. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like I definitely agree with that, and I try to keep
Hope.
that all the. I definitely
Hope
yeah.
is another,
I
another
try
way
to
to
go
look at it.
into every day like thinking like that with positive, but like you said, it is kind of hard to like think of that positive when like stuff is going wrong and not going your way, or like you work so hard for something and you work so hard for something that's not going your way right now, and then now it's just like you got that negative feeling about something, you got
Yeah.
that negative mindset, which is kind of hard to shake at a
You
point in
need to
time. 'Cause
push it that
I
away.
say it's plenty of times I will admit like it's plenty of times I've had that negative feeling like once because like I've been working so hard for something or like I did all the right things or the correct steps to lead up into
Yeah.
that, and then like the outcome or the result isn't what I want it to be, and then now I feel like it's just like a bummer to the face. It's like wow, I didn't did all of this and I still get like the short end of the stick. So I feel like it's kind of like that kind of is tricky a little bit, like messing with people. But like I stated before in the beginning, where I have like a reminder, like read the scriptures every morning and stuff. I actually was going through a period of time where I was like having that negative mindset, and I had read a scripture, and it became one of my favorites, John 13:7. It said, "You may not know now, but you'll understand later."
Absolutely.
And like that kind of like stuck with me now because even when I was going through that period of time, just like talking to people, like talking to my friends or like mentors I know, or just like people that generally like I talk to and they want the best for me. They really just say like, yeah, you really can't know you really can't dwell on it right now because that you're not that type of person to begin with. Like they know like I'm a very outspoken person. Like I speak out and I'm very energetic and stuff like that. But it was saying like you never wanna worry about the future so much as just handle what you can handle right now. So I feel like that scripture really like played a good part into it for
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely. If you look at the universe and look at life itself, you're only where you're meant to be. The two of us sitting here is not by chance. This
Right.
is destiny. This is where
Right.
we're meant to be. Sometimes you meet a random person in the street and then build up a lifelong relationship with them just from having a quick conversation, either, on the train or in the elevator. Our lives, I believe, are predetermined. Everything we do in life. So if it's not meant to happen, be optimistic, because it's not right now. This is not meant to happen right now. It's the way the universe is. It's the reality of life. Our lives are, controlled by a higher power, I like to say.
No, yeah, definitely, I agree. It's just like it's so hard to like have
Positive
yeah,
attitude.
that positive mindset when you know like you've been doing all the things to
Yeah.
have like the positive outcome, and like it still doesn't come into fruition right now. It's just I feel like people and myself in general, like people are just like kind of too impatient sometimes, I feel
Yeah.
like. And I feel like if people was more patient about things and have a positive outcome or a positive mindset, positive outcomes would be like more likely in society, I think. For sure.
Sometimes we look straight ahead, and you're looking at a path and you're looking at that, and that's where you need to go. But we forget that there are all these other paths on the side. And don't be disappointed when you're looking in that direction and you can't reach that goal. Think about there are other things that have come from all the effort and all the time and all the relationships you've built in that time. You can't just be focused on one thing, but there are so many opportunities around you that you might lose from just spending time being disappointed that you can't get to your goal. Make good of the other things, because you've developed so many skills. When I look at athletes, it's incredible. I mean, you work out. You have to work out. You have to play really well. You have to study. You don't have the family support if you don't live in the city. So there are all of these things. All of you guys are overachievers as you come. I mean, an athlete is an overachiever. It's you live the life of what an entrepreneur does when they get up and work every day, and they might not achieve their goal, and things change from day to day. So, the way you, especially when you go through college, the way you live your life is the way entrepreneurs live it outside, I believe.
Got you. So we talked about magic, empathy, reach out / speak out.
Yeah. Compassion.
We talked about compassion.
Warrior.
Got to talk about warrior. What is your definition of a warrior?
When I think about warrior, to me, it's about warrior. Also, when you talk about the chakras, it's the root chakra. I think about being grounded, being strong, that's your root. Mm-hmm. You always stay secure and don't waver.
Yeah.
Just be, that's warrior mode for me, is to be rooted and understanding that, believing really what you're doing is right and for the right purpose. And things that come your way might try to wave you and sway you, but, stay rooted and stay the course.
No, I definitely agree with that. I feel like my definition of a warrior is just like someone that's just like strong-willed, like you said, just stay grounded, but like strong-willed, resilient, of course, and just somebody that can be that's perseverant through a lot of things, and that's also confident about themselves and like what they do for sure. Like I think a lot of people could be warriors, but they're not confident. They don't have enough confidence in themselves, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I feel like confidence breeds success in most cases.
Absolutely, but be rooted. Go deep into whatever you're trying to do, so you secure yourself, and that's what being a warrior to me.
I think when you say stay rooted and stay grounded, I also think that goes into staying grounded and staying rooted to like your core values and true values about yourself. For sure. Yeah. And I definitely agree with that for sure. I think when I think of warrior, I think it's just like who's a fictional character that's a true warrior. You can't really say superheroes because that's like it's kind of cliche.
Yeah.
Actually,
to me, warriors are people that have had struggles that have been inflicted upon them. Mm-hmm. And, I work with a few warriors. I work with burn victims that burns been inflicted on them, and not that they were accidentally burned, but it is they've been through that for no reason, for nothing that was their fault, and they've got to live life and go through life being disfigured from the burns. They're really warriors, because they're grounded, they still have the will to live, they still have to have the will to fight and face society. There are so many things that they need to go and still go through life and still be positive and still want to live. And when I look at them, I feel like I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Everything in life is so so easy to handle when you look at and that's why I always say, just look outside the window, look at what someone else is going through.
Yeah,
and you realize how lucky you are, and you realize how magical your life really is.
Definitely. I've definitely gone through that stuff a couple of times. Like you'll have like a negative mindset, or not even a negative mindset, but you'll complain about something, then you see someone that isn't fully functional, or like don't have the luxury of just being healthy like you are, and then that's when I feel like you take a moment to realize, like, dang, like I'm really blessed to like be here and doing what I'm doing. So I feel like a lot of people need that in a sort of way, and that also goes where, like I said before, like they persevere through a lot of things and still keep going.
Absolutely.
And then, even if they are going through stuff where like they're taking all the negative things or energy towards them, like, you feel me, their head is bloody, but it's never bowed, if that makes sense. They're always standing up high. So
they have the strength to keep going.
Definitely.
To keep going, stay positive, have a great attitude. And, I think a lot of it also comes from believing if you believe you are exactly where you are meant to be in life, and not look at someone else and envy them for it, I think that's a really great attitude to have, because you're exactly where you're meant to be, and you work hard. And, as long as you feel like you're giving back to the world, you have to be content first to be able to be in that mode.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Some people, like, they don't really see like where they are in life, because like they are comparing themselves, or like,
exactly.
And I think like that's kind of, it's hard, but at the same time I understand where you're coming from. Like, you shouldn't. And someone always told me comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's definitely a powerful message to think, because always somebody else is in a certain situation because of what they got going on in their life, and that's their destiny. Like, that's what they're destined for right now. But I feel like people just get caught up in worrying about what the other person doing. They're not grounded to like stay down or just persevere like what they got going on now. And I do understand it is hard. Like I said before, like, you doing all the things right, and that person could be doing all the things wrong, but they still get, like, you feel me, the praise or the accolades or anything of that nature. But you feel me, you're still not getting that. So I feel like that's definitely understandable for sure. You said you also have colors that go with the words, right?
Yes.
So does the color mean something different from
the colors? Are just the colors that tie
meaning
to the chakras.
Okay.
So the chakras have been around for centuries, and the colors for the words tie to the chakras. And if you look at it, warrior is red. So, you can imagine warrior always being depicted as in the color red. To me, purple has always been the color of magic. So these are universal colors that have existed for centuries.
Gotcha.
That tie to each of the emotions.
So is it like true, like if someone likes a certain color, if they like a certain color, is that true about themselves? If you think in that situation?
No, I actually like baby blue to speak out, but I think I feel like magic most of the time.
Got you. No, I say that like me. I'll say my favorite color is red and blue and purple. So I was like, if you mix, red and blue. Yeah,
that's
purple,
really great.
like,
that's all of your characteristics.
That's all I was asking. Like, you think that's like true about all the characteristics?
It may be true for you. It's not true for me, though.
Oh no, not yet. That's what I'm saying. So what do you think your top three
words are?
Yeah.
I want to say empathy, magic, and resilience.
And why is that?
I think I've always been empathetic, so I always look at someone else's situation, and I try to remind myself not to judge people before I understand where they're coming from. It's very important to me. The word's very important to me. It's very important to the relationships I have, and the kind of work I do as well. It's an important characteristic to have. Magic, because when I remember I'm magic, I feel that something inside of me that gives me, even when I'm low, it picks me up. I'm just grateful. There's so much gratitude attached to the word magic, because I'm here and I walk the planet. I laugh, I talk, I do things I want to do when I want to do, and so many people don't have that opportunity to do that. So I believe magic is a really important word for me to remind myself to be grateful for being here. And I do believe that puts out a really positive energy. And resilient is because life is really, like you said, sometimes you work really hard and you're trying to get somewhere and you don't really get there. But every path you're going down has obstacles and has positives and negatives, but look around you. Don't have that one tunnel vision and look at, what do they say? Keep your eye on the prize. Yes, but sometimes that prize is not for you.
True. Gotcha. What do you think my top three words? I mean, not words. I just told them myself.
Words.
Yeah, words.
Well, speak out.
We're just speaking to me in this conversation. What do you think the three are for me? Or you can just describe it.
Well, I think, I believe you're somebody that likes to speak your mind, and I hope you express your emotions, your weak emotions, your vulnerabilities. So you like to speak out, but you speak the positive things. You also need to speak about the things that you may look at as weaknesses, but what are the things that trouble you? And it's harder to sit in front of somebody and speak out, which is why we use the bands. That's one way of expressing. I do believe you're resilient and you're a warrior, because you wouldn't be doing everything you're doing if you weren't. I see that you have compassion because you like to bake, because your mother bakes, your mother's a baker. Yeah. Really, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, but you have a lot of great qualities.
Thank you.
And that's why you will get where you need to be.
Appreciate that, definitely. So you said Power of Words. You guys have a podcast, right?
We have a podcast, which we haven't launched yet. We're about to launch with SP Studios, and we're so great to be partnering with them. Thank you, guys. And yes, it's called, the website is thepowerofwords.com, and our Instagram is @powerofwordsbrand. You see a lot of our brand on our Instagram at the moment, but all of it is very message driven. And soon you will start to see the Power of Seven impact on our Instagram as well, because we have a lot of ambassadors that are coming together to promote the Power of Seven.
Got you. We're going to take a switch into the podcast. We're going to talk about kind of like, okay, we can still talk about mental health, but like in the relationship aspect of it, as far as that, do you think, say if you were talking to a significant other and he was going through a mental health type of deal, and like you did all that you can do like to like be there and help that person, would you like stay, or like would you leave after a certain while if it's not getting better?
No, you never leave. I mean, I've said this, that 40 years of my life has been impacted by mental well-being and of a family member, and I'm still around and they're still around and we still help each other. Right. So I think it's really important to, that's resilience, that's being a warrior for them. And maybe we are uninvasive, and we are an uninvasive, unintimidating approach to mental health. Our conversations and our program is uninvasive and unintimidating. Mm-hmm. But we do have, I'm on the board of the D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services. So when we do see that someone's struggling, we do have help. So you have 988, which is the suicide helpline. You have D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services. You have NAMI, and you can pick up the phone and call. So if someone DMs us and says they'd like to speak, we take the first call, but then we put them in the right direction, because we don't have therapists on our team, but we are very well connected with therapists. We don't let go. You can't let go, because you don't want to lose anyone.
True, got you. So I was gonna say you do advocate for like going to therapy.
Absolutely. I think if you need therapy, you can build your therapist around you. Like I said, I have my 7 o'clock, coffee, my morning coffee call, which is very important to me because that might be the time. And you can find the people around you. You can find people that you can actually talk to without them having judged you. And sometimes you just want someone to listen to you. You really don't want a solution, but you just want to speak out. That's why we say speak out, because you're not really looking for solutions. You're looking to share and lighten that burden.
Definitely. I think I'm a great listener. Some people come to me all the time.
Okay, that's great. It's great to be a great listener.
That's my own.
Yeah.
But do you think, like you said, you have therapists that can be around you? Do you think, I know you heard of like tough love type of aspect. Do you think that's helpful in a way?
No, I think
dealing with like mental
with mental health, I don't think anyone should keep anything inside of them because it just builds up.
No, not keeping it aside. I'm more so of not saying like tough
coaches
love,
give you tough love,
or like even a friend. Like
you need the coach, but you also need someone that can listen to you. And what do therapists do? Therapists don't give you solutions. They just listen to you and let you talk and ask you the right questions. And that's the kind of wise people you need to surround yourself with. It's really important for you to have mentors, because those are mentors are in many ways a therapist.
My mentors have tough love on me for sure.
Okay.
But I appreciate it though. I feel like the tough love is more so of them keeping it real instead of like sugarcoating it or like keeping it like kind of vague a little bit. I feel like it shouldn't be vague at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like I give that off to some people that be having me listen to like their problems, and then I just say it like straight up. But like they say, wow, that was just like so surreal, like aggressive, but
and emotional.
Yeah, it's like that's the only way I can put it. But I feel like it gets the point across, and they appreciate it. So I feel like is that a good way of going about it?
Well, that's your way of going about it. Everyone has their own way. You can't cater, your way to everyone else's needs. So you just come as your true, authentic self, and people will love you and appreciate you and respect you for that. Mm-hmm. So give them your best, as long as you don't ignore someone. You don't ignore someone who's struggling, and you realize they're struggling. And sometimes we're so busy with our own lives that we walk away from it, but come back to it if you realize, oh my gosh, I should have listened a little more, or I could have said this. Go back to the person. Don't just wish you had done something different.
Got you. Most definitely. Well, I definitely appreciate you for coming on here for this episode. It's a very good, talk about mental health. I think a lot of people don't talk about mental health as much, or they don't talk about it as they need to, but it's definitely, being more sought out and talked topic in today's world. So I definitely appreciate you for coming on and speaking.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts and the power of 7 and the power of words, and your words matter.
Thank you. Well, that's it. Thank you for another episode. Check out the podcast, and make sure you go follow the Power of Words, right?
Yes, it's at Power of Words brand or thepowerofwords.com.
Got you. Well, that's it, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned.